This week at Eisei-en, we are in full preparation mode for the upcoming US National Bonsai Exhibition, which is going to be held up in Rochester, New York on the second weekend of September. So preparing all of these trees for the exhibition and for our sales booth, this kind of reminds me of my experience as an apprentice in Japan, kind of scrambling last minute to collect enough moss to cover the soil surface of all the trees, make sure that none of our display trees have any dead foliage in them, getting everything in tip-top prime shape, selecting stands, selecting accent plants, and then putting the whole package together. So it was always kind of a mad dash right at the end, preparing things in Japan for the Kokofu or for the Taikon 10 exhibition every year. But it was one of the most fun and enjoyable experiences of the year, because all of these amazing trees would come in from all over Japan to the nursery. We'd get our hands on some of the best display trees that were going in the exhibition. Fujikawa-san and I would travel around Japan to collect up and buy material to have at his sales booth for Koka-en as well. So all of those experiences together made the total package well worth all of the effort. Now, our busy season really started kind of in mid-October or so in preparation for the Taikon 10, which was always at the end of November. And the busy season kind of lasted all through winter until we finished the Kokofu 10 in mid-February up in Tokyo. So for us here in Nashville preparing for the US National Exhibition, again, it's coming up on the second weekend of September. So right now we are in kind of the last weeks of August here, getting everything ready. Totally different vibe, obviously, because it's the middle of summer here and extremely hot at this time of year. So it makes it a little bit more challenging in preparing trees for the show, because if we collect the moss too early, for example, and put it on the soil surface, it will brown out before the show. Even if we clean up the foliage right now, within a couple of weeks, things will have elongated and grown out even more. So we have to time things just perfectly for the trees to be in tip-top shape for the exhibition. I think it might be somewhat of a strange or foreign concept to a lot of people, but we actually maintain a lot of client trees here at Eisei-en. I'd say probably a good 25 to 30% of the trees that we have here are actually owned by clients or students, and we keep them here and maintain them throughout the year. So there are a couple of reasons that we do this. One is, if our students are traveling from a long distance, they can bring the trees here, keep them here for the duration of their program, and then take them home at the end. The other trees that we're keeping here are trees that are actually going into exhibition. So trees that are going into the upcoming US National Show, our clients will have brought those here maybe 6 months ago, maybe a year ago, maybe only 2 weeks ago. But we're prepping those trees for the show itself. The reason we want to do that, of course, is because we want to get these trees in tip-top shape for the exhibition. So they bring it to us to moss it properly, to get those final details in the wiring, in the pruning, in the shaping, selecting stands, selecting accent plants, so that when they go on display, they're in absolute tip-top shape. So this is what we're diving into this week here at Eisei-en. So when this Japanese black pine arrived at Eisei-en a couple of weeks ago, the owner of the tree noticed that a piece of bark had fallen off of the front of the trunk, like right square in the middle on the transportation here. So he managed to save the piece of bark. I got it right here. We're actually going to reattach this to the tree. Technically, it's kind of a little bit cheating, I guess, when you're putting a tree in an exhibition to do something like this, but not really that big a deal. It's its own bark, so it's not like we're going out to, somewhere else in the garden, grabbing bark off another Japanese black pine and sticking it on here. So we're gonna reattach this guy on the front side here, and I'll show you how to do that. All right, so in order to reattach this piece of bark, we're just gonna take some cut paste like this and stick it along the back side of the bark very carefully here. You could also put it directly on the trunk. Either way is totally fine. And we're going to figure out exactly how this was aligned here, something along those lines. And we're going to press it into place. All right, and that takes care of the problem.
How deep do we want to go?
Probably somewhere around that range. Maybe a tiny bit more in the corners.
I'm working on cleaning up this Rocky Mountain juniper for the national show, so we worked on the live vein a little bit, got that nice and red, and now I'm working on cleaning up all of the deadwood and all the gins, and then I'll get that painted up with some lime sulfur, get that nice and white and ready to go for the show.
This is one of our most special trees here at Eisei-en. This is a Scots Pine that was originally grown up in Rochester, New York, where the actual event is going to be held coming up here shortly. It was grown by a friend of the garden and the guy who actually puts together the national show, Bill Valvanis, for somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 30 to 40 years. So I was able to acquire this tree a number of years ago, brought it down to Eisei-en, totally styled up, transformed it, put it into a ceramic container here, and now after a number of years of being here, it's ready to go back in the show. So I'm really excited to take this back up to Rochester, where it's from originally, put it on display in the National, and get Bill's reaction to the tree now. Now this is the tree that I'm probably most excited about showing up in Rochester, but least excited about carrying up to the show just because of the sheer size of the tree. So this is one of our largest 1C junipers here at Eisei-en. We've actually talked about this tree in previous episodes here on YouTube, but I wanted to show you kind of the final preparation stage as we get it ready for the exhibition. So today I'm just re-pruning all of the shoots that have elongated since the last pruning we did on it about 2 months ago, cleaning up the undersides of the pads. I've had Cameron, our apprentice here, clean up the deadwood and paint it with lime sulfur as well. And we're still about 3 weeks out from the show, which is perfect. That lime sulfur will have time to kind of wear off and look a little bit more natural come show time. So one issue with this tree is that the base of it is a little bit funky, so we're gonna have to build up and mound the soil to make it look like it has a more solid surface root structure, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing kind of the behind the scenes preparation process for getting trees ready for the US National Exhibition. I hope a lot of you guys are gonna be up there at the show. I know in talking to Bill, the guy who puts on the show, it's essentially sold out at this point, so I'm expecting a lot of great bonsai to be on display, to see a lot of great bonsai people from around the US and around the world as well. And I really look forward to talking to you guys and meeting you guys in person there. So until then though, take care.